Hi, welcome to the Questionable Botanist. I'm Frank McDonough here at the Arboretum of Los Angeles County. I am the Questionable Botanist. Hi, I'm Frank McDonough. I am the Questionable Botanist. I'm highly questionable. Any plant questions you have, questions about pests, plant diseases, I'm here. I'm ready to be questioned. So I get plant questions, over thousands actually, over the course of the year here at the Arboretum, and I do my darndest to find the answers to them. So, what are some of the questions I got today? Now, I got an interesting walk in here. A gentleman came in with this and wanted to know how to graft it. This is a peach. It's an early cling peach. And apparently his peach tree, which produces excellent peaches, was mispruned by a well-meaning individual, and as a result the peach tree was not ideal. In fact, it was pruned like an apple tree. Way up here you had the branches coming out, which if anybody's ever been familiar with peaches, one of the better ways to prune them, because you're going to be pruning back to last year's new wood, is to have about 4 to 5 even large branches coming out, and just you want to keep the large last year's new growth, the canes, on that and prune them accordingly. So it's a lot easier if you have it pruned down lower, so you can reach in and get the peaches, so you don't have to be climbing up, reaching up with a ladder and risking certain death just to get peaches. So he wanted to know how to graft these. And specifically, he wanted to know if this was the ideal material to start with to graft. Well, it's not. Ideally, when you want to do a bud graft, and a bud graft is where you take a leaf bud, and you want to take these leaf buds just as they start to swell up, in the early spring or late winter when they're coming out of dormancy. Now, you can still graft these things. If you take a shoot like this and you cut it dustly, and ideally you want a very nice flat area here. Show it right there. You want a nice flat area there, so this presses up against the area that you cut the T into the bark of the tree for the T graft. You insert that in the T graft, staple it, put some wax on it. And there's more. Because you have a lot of foliage here, this foliage will evaporate water like crazy, causing a lot of stress on this scion. That's what they call these things. They're not small tomatos, they're scions. You want to take the leaves off of these so that the leaves don't evaporate a lot of water. You just pinch them off. So you take the large leaves off, and you do have to leave some leaf on there. So the smaller leaves, the medium-sized leaves, you want to leave a little bit on there. And then again, you insert this into the T-graft. Now this is most probably going to dry out. There is a product that you can use to keep that from happening, and that product is called cloud cover. It's a plastic film that you spray on the plant. It dries, and it seals up the stomata, which are the tiny holes in the leaves that allow water to evaporate out of these things. Use that cloud cover to seal up the stomata, and you have a better chance of this thing taking. Now, grafting is an art, and doing it well requires lots and lots of practice. People who do this professionally work in the San Joaquin Valley. They graft fruit trees, they graft roses and all other kinds of things, and they make good money doing it. It's passed on from generation to generation, this skill, by the way, this grafting skill. Takes a while to learn. If you're really talented, you may get it down in a season or two. If you're like me, you'll never get it right. But that's great. I know the technique, but when it comes to actually doing it, lining up, you have to line up the little vessels in there. You have to line that up with the vessels in the bark, and that's tough. So it's tough. I would not recommend doing it. In fact, This gentleman's tree was 10 years old, and a 10-year-old tree is just going to start declining in about 3 or 4 years. I really suggested he should just pick up another tree if he knows what variety his tree is. So that was my grafting question. If you do get into grafting, though, from what I hear, it's a very extremely satisfying little hobby. And what's